Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the York City Planning Commission to order. May we have a roll call?
Johnson,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Velez,
Here.
Burgos, Wolf,
Here.
Richardson, Gaines.
Here.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting? Are there any changes? Edits? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Johnson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Gaines.
Aye.
Committee reports. Has everybody received their copy of the zoning hearing board? Any comments? Any unfinished business? I understand we're going to have an update on the comprehensive plan, meetings at least.
Right, yeah, so we're gonna have that at the end of the, or we wanna do open forum now, do you wanna, okay, we're gonna have that at the end of the cases, okay?
Okay, thank you. New business, zoning appeals. First, we'll hear from staff on each of these cases, then we'll ask the applicant to step forward. First case is 47-2023 I'm sorry, we moved one up, right?
Yes.
First case is 52-2023-Z-V, 129 North Beaver Street.
Okay, applicant is Harrisburg University, located 326 Market Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 17101. Owner St. John's Episcopal Church, 140 North Beaver Street, York, PA, 17401. The zoning district is the Central Business District. Summary, the applicant is seeking a variance for a use not provided for in the current zoning ordinance, proposing controlled environment agricultural use in the CBD zoning district. Variance 1 appeal. Applicant seeks a variance for a use not provided in the current zoning ordinance, proposing controlled environment agricultural use. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, the staff recommends approval for a variance for the use not provided for in the current zoning ordinance, proposing a controlled environment agricultural use for the property at 129 Beaver Street, North Beaver Street.
Is the applicant present? Could you provide your name for the record, please?
Yes, good evening. Paul Minnick, counsel for the applicant, Harrisburg University. We appreciate your time this night. Tonight, we particularly appreciate you considering us early on the agenda this evening. The project, we think, is a fantastic one. It's one of the most exciting projects I've ever been involved with as counsel, and it involves the St. John's Episcopal Church parking lot at 129 North Beaver Street and developing a state-of-the-art controlled environment agricultural facility. It's going to include an urban farm, a retail space to be able to sell product grown on site right there. There's going to be an educational component tied to Harrisburg University and also research at that site. This project represents the entry of Harrisburg University into the York community. It is the first independent science and technology focused nonprofit university to be established in the Commonwealth in over 100 years. And as you'll hear from our team, the project is cutting edge and will confer substantial benefits to the city of York. As was referenced by your staff, this is a unique project that really isn't envisioned by the standard provisions of your zoning ordinance as it presently exists. As a result, we've sought a variance for use not provided for. We would very much appreciate the Planning Commission's favorable recommendation as we head into the zoning hearing board proceedings later this month. And again, we believe it is a substantial benefit project that will have no detriment to any adjoining property owners in any respect whatsoever. We have a few people tonight. We know you have a very long agenda, so we're going to try to be as brief as possible, but we wanted to give you the full picture. So we have Ian Kansky, who's the director for the Center for Advanced Agriculture and Sustainability from the university, who's going to provide just a little background about the university and an overview of the project. We have Eric Menzer here, who you know. Eric is a parish officer at St. John's Episcopal Church, and is just going to explain a little bit of the background of the project coming to that site and what the church hopes to accomplish by virtue of facilitating the presence of this facility. We have Tom Engler, who I think all of you know, who's our design professional. He's going to touch on the variance application and the standards. And then finally, we have the project architect here just to walk you through some of the drawings which were submitted in connection with the application. So if Ian is here, I'll have you step on up, Ian. And maybe you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role at Harrisburg University.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ian Cansey. I'm the director of the Center for Advanced Agriculture and Sustainability at Harrisburg University. The mission of the center is to help drive the adoption and help with the adoption of technologies and identifying new methods in agriculture that can, one, benefit smaller, more localized farming, and to help improve the vitality of farming while reducing the environmental impact of farming. So we're focused primarily on innovation, the education, to equip particularly new farmers with education and training in both technology and sustainability, and looking at sustainability both from an economic and environmental standpoint. This particular project is a very exciting one. It's one we've been planning for some time. The university itself, I'm not sure how familiar any of you are with the university, obviously the namesake in Harrisburg, but Harrisburg University is kind of an interesting story in and of itself. We like to joke that in terms of universities, the university is only 20 years old, almost a very young university, a young institution in terms of higher education, but a university that's grown tenfold since 2013. Today, the university supports about 10,000 learners a year and is really focused on a primary mission of making a STEM education in science, technology, engineering affordable and accessible. As an institution, we have not raised tuition in over 10 years. And one of the key objectives of the university is to graduate students without debt. Myself in the center, I got into this area of agriculture technology and particularly greenhouse agriculture, having started a company, a startup in about 2015. Got more deeply involved in the sector and saw that it had great potential, particularly in one of the areas that we're going to be really looking to set a new bar in a very novel project in urban farming, to bring new tools to make smaller teams in urban farming more productive. This is a project that will actually feature partnership with very experienced greenhouse growers and engineers from the Netherlands. The Netherlands is kind of the world leaders in greenhouse agriculture, adapting their tools and their knowledge from generations of farming in this way, especially around fresh produce, and adapting that to scale down and make this a very repeatable project in smaller scale, localized agriculture. General, plan for the actual facility. So the site will feature a production greenhouse, so kind of a real world urban farming business model as a partnership. And then at the Institute, we will have facilities for training, facilities for engaging the public, experiential areas to learn about these methods, to learn about the science of the growing, co-located with the research in sustainability, research in new technology. So a very unique project in that it combines, again, real-world production, research, and training, as well as a local retail spot for selling, for people to pick up not just the produce that's being grown in the facility. There's a menu of about 80 different types of product and can be grown in this facility, but also a location partnering with other producers in the community. We've been very active about talking to other groups who are involved in urban farming in the New York area. We've got some great operations here about other ways that we can collaborate and also create new opportunities for their products to be featured in kind of the drop-in retail area, but also leveraging the flexibility of these methods, growing year-round to produce what's supplemental to what's already here. So, many people have asked too, what is Harrisburg University? So Harrisburg University is building in New York, and I want to say that for a long time we had been very interested in collaborations in New York. One of the reasons, one of many, is the depth of the manufacturing industry in New York, and we think we've thought a lot about the opportunities for connecting kind of the manufacturing side of all this with the agricultural side. A lot of great agriculture here as well, and we're very interested in helping to drive more collaboration across the cities as we think about South Central Pennsylvania and the region as a whole. We've also found here in New York great partners. Really excited to be involved with the foundations that are making this work possible, the existing farmers and the markets. We have collaboration discussion ongoing with the local markets as well in New York, and how can we again use the flexibility of these methods to supplement what's available, growing things off season that aren't available, and help give the community of New York not just that consistent supply of good food, but also the education and access into these methods. So we really expect that this is going to be a notable demonstration site. This is a pretty novel project in that the types of methods that are being used here are usually employed in very large greenhouses. And we found a whole team, and even an international team of innovators and engineers who are interested in trying to make this work at a very localized footprint. So one other thing I'd like to mention is that one of the other advantages here is that there was state construction assistance funding available through the RACP program that was at risk of going away due to not being deployed into projects previously. This project allowed us to repurpose those funds, gain the approval of the state in writing to repurpose those funds, have them not disappear back into the budget, and keep them in York being deployed around this project. So that was also a great thing about the timing of all of this. And as we look at the growth of this project, everything that we're focused on, particularly at the Institute, our job is to be out in the world problem solving and then looking for opportunities to bring the research and the education mission alongside. We're going to be looking at how this project can drive, further projects in York, but also for York to be that example that's helping other communities look at the potential of these types of projects. So I'll stop there. I can often talk far too long about this stuff, so I'll stop there, and thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, Ian, and I handed out just a brief summary about Harrisburg University and a little bit of background information about it. We would next call up Eric Menzer on behalf of the church to give a little perspective from the church.
Good evening, Eric Menzer. My business involvement in this project is on behalf of the Episcopal Church of St. John the Baptist, which is located at 140 North Beaver Street, directly across from the project site. In secular terms, I'm the senior warden of the church, which in secular terms would be as chairman of the board of directors of the church. I'm here in that role. We've been using this site as parking for our Sunday morning and occasional evening parking needs for over 40 years. We have always recognized that a surface parking lot is generally not considered the highest and best use of land in a central business district, and we've always been open to the idea that as long as our church parking needs could be met, we were open to proposals from partners who could make fuller and better, higher and better use of this parking lot. For many years, the lot has also been used for weekday parking in a lease relationship with one of our neighboring property owners, particularly with the shift to more work-from-home environments as the result of the COVID pandemic. You might have observed that the weekday use of the parking lot at this point is quite limited, and that provides us with an opportunity to take a renewed look at how we can partner with somebody to use the parking lot when we're not using it. So that is why we were open to the proposal from Harrisburg University, and in fact have entered into a letter of intent with Harrisburg University to pursue this project. The main benefit to the church from this project, well, there's two benefits. The first is a secured long-term income stream, which, as any downtown church would tell you, is useful in terms of our viability in downtown York. You may have observed that St. John's has invested millions of dollars over the course of the last 5 or 7 years in our own physical plant, and we remain a vibrant and very viable parish, bringing people into downtown York and partnering in the community to make our facilities available. We are very excited by the opportunity to use this parking lot to put it into production in this way that will have not only tax-based and economic development benefits for the city, but to do it in a way that is non-intrusive and non-impactful to our neighbors, and importantly provides fresh produce to residents not only of the city but all of York County. What you're going to see in the site plan that's presented tonight preserves the church's main operational interest, which is the ability to have access to sufficient parking on Sunday mornings for our church attendees, and to have evening and weekend use of that parking as well for occasional church activities. So this is really very much a win-win from our perspective. It secures a long-term economic benefit to the church. It meets our primary needs as the owner of this property, and it does it in a way that creates tax-based jobs and benefits for city residents. So we're very excited to have this opportunity to partner on the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. We would now ask Tom Engler to come up and walk you through a little bit about the site plans and the variant standards that we believe we've met.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Engler with Site Design Concepts. We're a local civil engineering firm and surveying firm in the city of York, and we're very pleased to be part of this project. It's very exciting. I'm going to walk over to the board here. This is, like many things in York, a first. This is going to be the first of its kind around the country, certainly in the Mid-Atlantic region. The church sits over here on the other side of Beaver Street. Beaver Street is here. I believe you have this in your packet. We have a main grow facility and retail facility in this location. We have a second building over here, approximately 2,500 square feet. It's for the education, redevelopment, and demonstration will be done. And then across the front, along West Gas Avenue, is where we have our parking that's being provided to the church. As part of that, we also have on this corner an area of public gathering and public space that will be open through the week and then closed down on Sundays for the church to use or any other events. We find that this is a very good site for this project based on its topography. It's very flat. Minimal work will have to be done to construct this, and the utilities are all in place, so it will be very much a plug-and-play scenario. Again, it's a first of its kind in that this is not only a sustainable project from an agricultural and environmental standpoint, but it's also going to be sustainable from a business model. And when this is built and can be successful, it's our vision that these can be placed all over the country as a model. We looked at the zoning of this site, central business districts overlaid by harbor. Our first iteration with this was, we felt like, because this is a unique project, right, it's got a couple different uses, we felt like this was a higher ed use, which was in fact a permitted use, is a permitted use in the central business district. We went through and worked with city staff, and they felt it was because the main use of this building was going to be agriculture, that it should be CEA, Controlled Environmental Agricultural Facility, as a use. So that's why we are here looking for a use variance. Now, as part of that use, we have three kind of separate uses under that. We have the agriculture, we have the retail, and we have the higher ed. Two of those three are permitted uses in the central business district. So we feel like it's a pretty good fit for this part of the city. It's also important for this project to be in the vicinity of not only residents, but also in the retail area. If we make a project like this a destination, put it out somewhere, it's not going to get the business it needs. So this is a great location where we have very good access to city residents currently in place. We have good access to the school, the central business district, and patrons going through the central business district. So we feel that that location makes it very positive for this project. As far as the variance goes, again, it's a use not permit or not identified in your zoning ordinance. So this is something new that's not defined. So that's why we're here tonight for the use variance.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me, Paul?
No, I think you covered it beautifully. And then finally, we have Wes Enterline from Chris Dawson Architects, who prepared some plans. I'm going to hand out the latest version of those. I know we had a prior set in your application materials, but I'll hand those out while Wes introduces himself and walks you through these.
Thank you, Paul. As Paul said, I'm Wesley Enterline with Chris Dawson Architect. We're in Harrisburg, PA. I've heard a lot from the folks in front of me. I won't dwell on the site plan too much, but I'll dive into the floor plan. The floor plan, as Paul is passing out and you get familiar with it, we've divided the building into three areas. The retail area, which is just like any other retail area, that's where customers will interact with the building. They'll go in, they'll be able to purchase the produce that is produced on site in the greenhouse. There will be a customer restroom there. There's what we call the barn component. That is storage for both the retail and the greenhouse. Some other miscellaneous uses, the building utilities, for example, would be there, but generally a back-of-house area. And then there's the largest component of the floor plan, approximately 14,000 square feet. It would be the greenhouse component. You heard the term controlled environment agriculture. That's just another fancy way of saying greenhouse, but that's where the produce will be grown. You'll also see in the packet some renderings illustrating that, giving another view. On the cover of the packet is a view from Beaver Street showing that area. Obviously, this is when parking, you heard earlier Eric mention that the church would utilize that as parking. This is showing the space that would be, as it would be configured when there isn't parking there from that corner. And then we have a few axons as well at the rear of at the back of the packet, showing a cutaway of the project, as well as just showing some other views of the project. Again, illustrating how that site can be used both by the church and our project that we're explaining to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I may have set a new record to have 4 normal people and 1 lawyer finish in less than 20 minutes. So I think we covered everything. We certainly welcome any questions you may have. If not, we were very grateful to get a favorable recommendation from the city staff. Again, we think it is an absolute blockbuster of a project from an economic development, community diversification, educational, economic standpoint. So we would very much love to have your favorable recommendation heading into the zoning hearing board hearing. But again, welcome any questions you may have for anyone on the team.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the presentation?
I just have one minor one. On the blue building side, what is that going to be used for, the blue building?
Education.
The blue building here, you mentioned kind of seeding, packaging, processing, greenhouse. Blue building here this is dual purpose. One, we'll be doing research into methods, experimenting with new types of crops, some more exotic crops. My old team, we had a greenhouse in Harrisburg where we were using aquaponics, and we grew, I think it was the first PA preferred pineapples. We'll be having some fun over here. But this is also where, really, where it's more accessible for people, public, students to come in to get much more up close, with the produce and really understand the method. So it's a dual purpose in that it's real world research. It's also training. This project will have at any given time about 4 associates, so it's like apprentices in training. Learning these methods as well. So yeah, the dual purpose here. So it's R&D, research and development, but it's also experiential.
While you're up there, could you also explain up in the upper right-hand corner, the building that's going to be there?
In the upper right-hand corner, so this is an existing building that is part of the next parcel. We kind of identified this as a building that we would like to, not selling, but we would like to potentially utilize and work out something with the owner to use maybe for some of the indoor labs. There's a lot of fun things to be done in terms of kind of robotic armatures and sort of indoor seating research and lighting. So using LED lights, for example. So that's a little bit to be determined in the exact use of that space, but we really would envision that as being kind of a flexible innovation space. A great place to invite even guest companies in to bring their equipment in and kind of show how what they're working on could impact either the sustainability or the let's say the effectiveness of tomorrow for the entrepreneur for the farmer. That's one of the primary goals of this whole project, is to set a new kind of blueprint that helps farmers to adopt these technologies or new entrepreneurs get involved in the production. A little bit more indoor, a little bit more gear oriented is what they run in a flexible space.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on this one?
I have a couple, but they're not on there.
That one?
It looks like about a third of the greenhouse roof is being used on solar panels. Is that correct? It looks like that's what those are.
Solar insulation.
Yeah, the remaining roofing panels, are those transparent like a greenhouse, or are they, so will you be using grow lights, and what color will they be?
Great question. So we will be using, to breed supplemental lighting. The greenhouse also has shade cloths, so that at night you don't have any light pollution coming from the greenhouse. So there's shade cloth that's that goes over during the night. Supplemental lighting won't be too heavily used here. While this is still classified as controlled environment agriculture, meaning really that we're able to control the climate enough to grow year round, and we are controlling basically access by pests. You can keep the pests out, you don't have to use pesticides. So it is a bit more structured than your traditional greenhouse, more building-like, but we're still going to have, we're going to use the sunlight primarily.
Excellent. And the retail area, when do you imagine that's running? Is it a daily thing, a market day thing? Obviously not a Sunday morning thing.
Excuse me, could you talk into the mic? Could you stand up and talk into the microphone? Because we're recording this on YouTube, so thanks.
So yeah, the intent is to have that, that site open throughout the week. Now, as we are still having, discussions with some of the local markets, how can we be most supplemental? The exact hours, I would say, are not solidified now, but generally speaking, we wanted to have pretty normal, typical hours. For the retail, and drop-in space.
Okay. And you may have come across this answer, or some of the people who have been around longer might know this answer. Do we have any idea why it sat undefined in the zoning? Obviously, it mentions as an accessory use, but it never addresses it as a primary use. Like, do we know any reason why that might be?
What, I didn't catch the first part of that, the CEA.
Finding things a lot. So it's strange that something is undefined, especially in agricultural use in a traditionally agricultural county. Do we have any idea why it was left undefined?
Well, it was a conversation with us and the city engineers to come up with, it didn't fit just right under any of the, educational, the agricultural, wasn't just that, and it wasn't just commercial for retail space. So that's how we came up with the CEA.
Yeah, and I would just add that this zoning ordinance was written in 2011, which doesn't seem that long ago, only 12 years ago. But I do believe that this is really a new use. While it's not, certainly greenhouses have been around for a long time, but having something that's this controlled and being, this isn't just a hoop house. So having this controlled environment is something relatively new, particularly to an urban setting.
Yeah, I
My
get that.
opinion as to why it wasn't.
I think for me, what I'm understanding is, like, if I wanted to put a farm down in the middle of the city in that same location, I just wanted to tear it up, put a farm down, we would run into the same question, right? So it's like we never thought in our zoning to say, why can't I put a farm in the middle of the city? Or when we started our zoning things, where we don't want a farm in the middle of the city. And I'm not saying we don't want this. I'm just curious from a planning and comprehensive plan perspective of like why we think that might not have been addressed, and if we're missing some piece of information. But if you didn't come across something and she didn't come across something, then I guess we just didn't think it.
Well, I will say, based on the amount of zoning hearings I go to in my career, and maybe Paul will back me up on this, you just identified one of the biggest issues in all of zoning. You cannot create a zoning ordinance that meets every condition in every situation. But it is a good question. There may have been a reason why 11 years ago this wasn't added. But that's, in my opinion, I think it's just a new use. It's something that's being proliferated and being looked at around the world. So it's just not something that was probably thought about.
In addition to that, when we did the zoning ordinance, we did not include an option for areas that were not included as a designation. Could you also explain what you found in other city ordinances? Allowing for this type of variance?
Well, so typically, like I explained that in the zoning ordinance, when something is not in the ordinance, it is a use by special exception. However, in 2011, that was not written into our zoning ordinance, so that's why we're at the variance. But I didn't do any more research into anyone else's zoning ordinances.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think
Because we do go to different meetings with all the municipalities. There are 72 municipalities in York County. And the city, of course, is very unique in that all of them, with the exception of us, have agricultural, and because of all the open space and how rural a lot of the areas are, whereas we don't.
Yeah, and I would agree completely. Every ordinance I've dealt with has this use not provided for section, that if there is not a specifically delineated location, it's treated as a special exception use in those districts. And our first iteration of the application, that's where we went, and then we realized, wait a minute, there isn't a use not provided for special exception provision in your ordinance, and that's when we kind of shifted the focus to the variance concept. But I think it also goes back to the point Mr. Davis made that, this was really not envisioned in the ordinance And we do see that a lot. I mean, I'll give you one example we see throughout the county is solar farms, industrial scale. Solar farms were never envisioned back when most municipal ordinances, zoning ordinances in York County were conceived. So a lot of municipalities are having to go back to address that. I think you're exactly right that the concept of having agriculture in this particular zone was not necessarily envisioned, and this is just such a cutting-edge project. I think one of the things that makes it most exciting is that this is technology from the Netherlands is going to be imported. This is going to, if this works, and I think it is really going to work, this is site number 1 in the United States for this that's going to be replicated down the road. So we have an opportunity here to make this work, and again, having lived in this or worked in this community for 29 years, I do think it is a beautiful location because you have some commerce close by, you have residents close by. And the university, to its credit, has already been having dialogue with the Central Market, other stakeholders in the community to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to interfere with existing efforts to get fresh produce in the community. This is going to be complementary to it. But that's why I think nobody who would have written this ordinance would have necessarily envisioned this scenario. I guess as a practice point, it probably would be useful when you do look at the ordinance next, any revisions to create an explicit use not provided for section. But that's the beauty of a use variance, and is the power that you have and the power that the zoning hearing board has to essentially suspend any aspect of the zoning ordinance and say that the merit of this project is such that we can override it and allow it. But this is very unique in terms of both the greenhouse concept, the research, the retail altogether. I don't know that any zoning ordinance in any of the 72 municipalities in York would be specifically on point to deal with something like this, but it is a great project.
Thank you.
So when you mention the coordination with other farmers and producers in the area, are you speaking specifically about farmers who have stands in Central Market, Penn Market? Like, what are the efforts that you've been taking to coordinate that level of care?
Sure. Well, yes, exactly. So we have have ongoing discussions with the leadership of the market, with a number of the existing urban farmers. We also have upcoming meetings, even with a few of them and their boards and leadership, talking about how we might actually partner, how some of the tools and methods that we'll be demonstrating here could be potentially integrated into what they're doing, or maybe and this is really why the Institute exists, is to be that resource of information. Say, well, okay, here we have real proven numbers on the materials and the electricity and and everything to help inform that. Maybe it makes sense for them to move from hoop houses, right, or plastic to a more advanced greenhouse. So specifically those types of discussions. Then I would also point out that we, in talking with all the different stakeholders as well, we've adapted that into our own plan specifically to avoid competing with anyone else. So, for example, we'll be choosing pricing for the food that is, below what the more expensive pricing would be in the normal grocery store, but also specifically higher than those that are producing, that are selling, in the lower cost over here, specifically because we don't want to undercut anyone. So, we've really tried to factor that into every aspect of the plan, because yes, this site will be an operating farm and selling produce into retail, but really its purpose, its long-term purpose, its mission is to prove new methods and reduce the barrier, both in terms of cost and knowledge, to helping people get into these methods. So we really see, yes, the output as produce, fresh produce, but also the output is really primarily about the knowledge, about supporting the entrepreneur and supporting the farmer.
Any other questions or comments? Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion for the CEA variance?
I'm making a motion to recommend approval of the variance for a use not provided in the current zoning ordinance, proposing a controlled environment agriculture CEA use in the CBD zoning district for the property at 129 North Beaver Street.
Second.
We have a second and a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Johnson,
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson. Gaines.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for your time, and
Y'all got the heat on. Y'all got her on. She said she usually sees it. No. I don't know what's.
Our next case is 47-2023-Z-V-SE at 756 West Princess Street.
Okay, the applicant and the owner are the same person, Edward Tavares, at 817 West Locust Street, York, PA 17401. The zoning district is UN2, Urban Residential Neighborhood District. The summary: the applicant is seeking a special exception for the use of and two variances to bring the property into compliance with the zoning ordinance as a multifamily licensed 2-unit. Variance Appeal 1: the applicant seeks a definition variance since the proposed use does not meet the ordinance requirements of a conversion from industrial, institutional, or commercial. The property is a single-family home. Staff have reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, staff recommends denial of a definition variance to allow 2 units for the property at 756 West Princess Street. Variance Appeal 2: the applicant seeks a dimensional variance since the proposed density is less than permitted by the zoning ordinance in this district. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d and finds the property is big enough for the proposed 2 units. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a dimensional variance to allow 2 apartments for the property at 756 West Princess Street. Special exception 1 for the use: the zoning ordinance permits multifamily conversion from a different use by special exception in this zoning district in 1304.1.1.02.002. Staff has reviewed the special exception provision of this property. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of the request for a special exception to allow the multifamily dwelling at 756 West Princess Street, pending all variances are approved.
Okay, go ahead.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Edward Tavera.
Good evening, my name is Edward Taveras.
Estoy aquí para ver si ustedes me permiten hacer la división de esta casa a 2 apartamentos.
I'm here to request to see if you allow me to convert this house into a 2-unit apartment house.
Ya que es muy grande y tiene doble parqueo.
Because it's big and it has double parking, it has two parking spaces.
Y tiene su escalera de emergencia
It has an emergency staircase
del lado atrás.
In the rear.
Y tiene balcón del lado atrás también.
It also has a balcony in the rear.
Y es una casa sumamente grande, súper grande.
It's a very big house. It's a super big house.
En el plano está para hacer la división de 2 habitaciones, su cocina amplia.
In the plans, you see the proposal to make it into dos
habitaciones.
Apartamento, 2 habitaciones. Cada
Sí.
uno.
Primer piso, 2 habitaciones.
In the first floor, it would be a 2-bedroom apartment.
Y una sala.
And living room, cocina.
Sí, cocina y la sala.
Kitchen, y el baño.
Y su baño, y un baño.
And 1 bathroom.
Y el segundo piso tiene 3 habitaciones.
And the second floor would have 3 bedrooms.
La sala
the living room,
y su cocina y su baño.
a kitchen and bathroom.
Sumamente grande.
It's very big.
A ver si está dentro de sus posibilidades de que me puedan ayudar. Pues,
I am requesting to see if there's any possibility you can assist me with that.
siempre he estado dispuesto a ayudar a la ciudad en lo que me han pedido, en lo que pueda colaborar.
I've always been willing to abide by whatever the city asks me to cooperate with.
Gracias.
Thank you.
I noticed in the summary that we are trying to bring this into compliance with the zoning ordinance. Was it purchased as a multifamily?
Estoy viendo aquí en la definición que estamos tratando de que eso esté dentro de las ordenanzas de la ciudad. ¿Esto se compró como una unidad multifamilia ya?
Sí, es una unidad actualmente.
Es de una familia.
De una, ajá, pero es grande.
It's a single family home right now, but it is very big. What else? Le voy a enseñar lo otro.
Lo de Albeno.
Ajá.
Sí, pero yo que lo dejara por el 21.
Okay, está bien.
No complica mucho.
When he purchased the home, was it already set up as 2 units?
Cuando usted compró la casa, ¿ya estaba dividida en 2 unidades?
No.
No.
El dueño quería como hacerlo.
The prior owner wanted to do that, apparently.
And to clarify, based on the pictures, it is not currently set up. I don't see 2 kitchens,
Entonces,
it's still
para
one.
clarificar, actualmente no está dividida para 2 familias.
No,
dos
no,
cocinas.
no.
No, no.
Are you waiting for the approval to do the renovations to make it into a 2-unit property?
Entonces está esperando la aprobación para que se haga una unidad de un edificio de
correcto.
dos unidades.
Second.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
This was locked off from the rest of the floor.
You were in front of us before for a different property, correct?
Usted estaba enfrente de nosotros anteriormente para otra propiedad, ¿verdad?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
Was that also to make a single-family home into a multi-unit?
Eso también era para que hacer una casa de una familia a multiunidad.
Sí,
Yes.
ya lo hice.
I did already.
How is that going?
¿Cómo le está yendo eso?
Sumamente bien, porque está bien hecha.
Very well. It's well done.
Puedo enseñarle fotos si quieren cuando al próximo.
For the next meeting, if you like, I can bring you some pictures.
Para que vean mi trabajo.
That's
So you
okay.
can see my kind of work.
No need, but thank you.
No es necesario.
Oh,
Está bien.
thank you, appreciate it.
Are there currently separate utilities at this site?
Están actualmente los servicios de utilidades separados en este lugar.
Actualmente no, porque es una unidad. Ya, sí, tiene todo, agua, luz, pero la casa está
It has
habitable.
all the normal utilities, water, electricity, but it's not currently divided because it's one unit right now.
Pero tiene toda su luz, su gas y su
But
agua.
it does have electricity, water,
And gas.
gas.
Does it currently have a bathroom on the first floor for the bathroom for each unit?
Actualmente tiene el baño en el primer piso para cada unidad.
Sí.
Yes.
Un baño abajo, un baño arriba.
It has a bathroom in the first floor and a bathroom upstairs.
Yes, sir.
Is there any sort of, I assume she could have caught it, but there's no concern with like impervious surface and parking, just taking it all over?
Can you tell me what the parking surface is in the back?
¿Puede decir, give me the size?
No, not the size. What is it, dirt? Is it gravel?
El material de donde se estacionan atrás, que gravilla, tierra.
Va a
¿qué es lo
ser
que es?
cemento, va a ser.
Ahora mismo, ¿qué?
Ahora mismo tiene una mitad de cemento y como gravilla. así.
Ah, y va a ser lo completo de
Con
cemento.
se
So
completa
right now
cemento.
it's part gravel, part cement, but I'm going to make it all cement.
Is there anything about the staff? Is there anything about impervious surface that would trigger there?
So, no, he has enough for the 2 spaces in the back of the house, so it would cut off. He's meeting all the pervious to impervious for that zoning, and he's along Hawthorne Street where there is no other houses along the side of the house at all. So the whole, from Princess Street all the way back to whatever that alley is, would strictly be his, because he's on the corner, would strictly be able to be for him, his tenants to park, including the back parking spaces. So no, I mean, it's going to be like impervious surface when he gets done with it, with the parking spaces in the back.
It looks rough. When was the last, do you know when it was last occupied?
Se ve como la casa que estaba media. ¿Sabe cuándo fue la última vez que se ocupó, que vivió alguien ahí?
El señor me dijo que tenía 8 o 9 años.
Sin que nadie viviera ahí.
Sin que nadie viviera ahí. Sí, no.
El dueño anterior.
El dueño anterior.
The
sí.
prior owner told me that it has been unoccupied for about 8 or 9 years.
That's why he, that's why he did not need to seek a variance for being vacant longer than 2 years for this special exception.
Porque ha estado desocupado por más de 2 años.
Do we happen to know why it was vacant for
¿Sabe por qué
that
estaba
long?
tan vacante tanto tiempo?
¿Perdón?
¿Sabe por qué estaba vacía por tanto tiempo?
No sé. No.
I don't know.
Si vivo cerca por ahí, pero no sé. No sé.
I live nearby there, but I don't know.
The fire escape in the back looks fairly new. Did the applicant install this, or was it there?
La escalera de escape de atrás se ve media nueva. ¿Usted la instaló, fue?
No, así el dueño se la compré.
No, I bought it from the prior owner like that.
Okay.
Ahí fue que aproveché y le pregunté si la iba a vender.
¿Cuándo?
Cuando la estaba,
Pintando.
cuando estaba reparando, más o menos.
When he was repairing that, that's when I took the opportunity to approach him and ask him if he was selling that property.
Dijo que el hijo tenía un problema en Maryland y tuvo que no piensa venir para acá ya.
El hijo del dueño
Del
anterior.
dueño, sí.
So el dueño también se va a mudar.
Sí, se mudó para allá.
Okay. So at that time, he informed me that his son was dealing with some issues down in Maryland, and that he himself was going to move to Maryland, and he already moved, and he was not planning to come back.
So that, excuse me. So the work that was done before Mr. Terraris bought the property, that's what, the city put a stop work order on it now that he has it, but he hasn't done any work, and he wasn't going to do any work until he gains approval from the zoning hearing board for, you know, for the 2 units. So, but whoever, someone started the work before he came there, before he bought the property.
Antes de que usted viniera a comprar. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Is there anything else you would like to provide us, or?
¿Hay algo más que usted nos quiere proveer?
No, estoy dispuesto a colaborar con la ciudad siempre y cuando me necesiten.
No, I'm willing to cooperate with the city as long as whatever is needed.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this case?
¿Alguien del público que quisiera decir algo en cuanto a este caso?
Is there a motion for the variance for definition?
I move to recommend to approve a variance to the definition of multifamily conversion from a different use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002A as 756 West Princess Street.
I second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Johnson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Gaines.
Aye.
A motion for the dimensional variance.
I move to recommend to approve a dimensional variance for multi-family conversion from a different use found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 to include conversion of a single-family home into 2 units for the property at 756 West Princess Street in the UN2 zoning district.
I second.
Any further discussion? May we have a roll call?
Johnson.
Aye.
Davis. Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Gaines.
Aye.
I move to recommend to approve a special exception to allow multifamily use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002 at 756 West Princess Street in the UN2 zoning district.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? May we have a roll call?
Johnson.
Aye.
Davis. Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Gaines.
Aye.
It's noted that all 3 motions were approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
And just for the record, my name is Ken Olivo. I'm a court certified interpreter, and I've been retained by Mr. Tavares to interpret for him here.
Thank you for your services.
Good night, everybody.
You too. Our next case is 48-2023-Z-V, 48 East Market Street.
Applicant is Louis Rivera, 446 North George Street, York, PA, 17401. Owner, York County Industrial Development Authority, 144 Roosevelt Ave, York, PA. Zoning district is CBD, Central Business District. The summary, the applicant is seeking a variance for relief of the height requirement for a fence in the CBD district. Variance Appeal 1, the applicant seeks a variance for relief of the height requirement for a fence as in 1304.02.7.002.B2. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a variance to allow a fence higher than 6 feet for the property at 48 East Market Street.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Louis Rivera. I am here from Future Solutions Fence. We are the contractor that was hired by the Yorktown Hotel. I am the applicant for the variance. And I just wanted to make a few clarifications. When I initially applied, I was under the impression I was applying for 2 sections of fence, but one of the sections of fence is actually in accordance to the height, so it will not exceed 6 foot. So you can disregard the photos that have the transformers and the balusters. Though the fence in that surrounding area will be 6 foot tall, I believe that we will be focusing on the fence that is going to be installed on the retaining wall that will exceed 6 feet. I do have some additional documents here that I would like to present to you if you allow me. So the purpose of the fence is going to be to cover up an unsightly generator that is located on the property and to steer the direction of passerbyers and customers to the entrance of the property. And there's those details and sections that I provided just highlight how it will be installed, the material, and there is just some specifications on those. And the second section, or the second image, shows how it will look installed on the retaining wall. In actuality, only one section will exceed the height, I believe. That is not including the retaining wall, though. So if we are to include the retaining wall, then I guess it does. I'm not sure how that works if we're including the retaining wall in the height of the fence, but. And then I do have my colleague here, Michael. He is from the Yorktown Hotel, and he just has a few words to say. He's just here to represent the Yorktown Hotel.
Thank you. Mike DeJulia, Yorktown Hotel General Manager. Been with the GM of the Yorktown for 2 months now. I'm here on behalf of Lewis here to present the application for the fencing. The fencing is basically a first impression thing. Our brand is Hilton. We're a Tapestry hotel, and they require us to cover that up because it's a first impression issue. So when you first pull up to the hotel, you don't want to see this big box generator just sitting there. And basically, they want us to kind of block it so guests don't see it when they pull up. We've got a lot of nice landscaping in front. We don't have much to work with. The hotel is basically in the square. So when you pull up, you want to make sure that the first impression looks nice to guests when they come to check in, and that's the reason for the fencing. I think more than anything, it's just obtrusive, and it's a big box of equipment out there that just makes a loud noise when it goes off, and basically we don't still want folks to see it. That's all it is. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration.
Anyone have questions?
Why not trees? I just hate fences a lot.
I don't know.
Really
So,
hate fences, so.
yeah, so
I can help answer that.
yeah, whether
I
it-
agree with you 100%. We even thought about that, shrubs and greenery that would look nice, but you can't dig right there because there's other electrical lines and gas lines, so we can't dig into the ground. That's why it has to go on top of the retaining wall area. I hate it. Let me just be honest with you. I think the fencing will look, our shrubbery would look better, but our only option is fencing. And it's more or less a brand requirement at this point. We get dinged on things like this, so.
It's funny, I've been there dozens and dozens
Yeah.
of times, and I was like, oh, there's a generator there. Like, I never noticed the small transformers either, which is
Yeah.
So, they just, of course, I'm always distracted by the insane things that are always happening in that turnaround. So
Right, exactly.
that's my first impression every time.
Well, my first impressions can make it bigger, but okay, let's just stick with the generator.
Yeah, all right, okay. All right.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion on the variance?
I make a motion to recommend, to approve the variance to waive the height requirements as defined in section 1304.02-7.02 at 48 East Market Street in the CBD zoning district.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? May we have a roll call?
Johnson.
Aye.
Davis. Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson. Gaines.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Out of curiosity, what happens if you wouldn't have put the fence up?
What's that?
What if you didn't put the fence up?
Hilton would not necessarily fine us, but we would fail on points for our QA. That's all it is. We need those points to keep passing our QA, because if we don't pass the QA, then we do get fined.
Huh. Okay. I was only wondering because I feel like this is one of those situations where they could then say, well, you need to do this, you need to do this, and if it keeps pushing up against like our local ordinances and our local everything, you're like, at what point is it like, well, you're not even in.
What point is it worth it? I get it, yeah, 100%. But I was right there with you in the shrubbery and the trees. I was like, can we do something like green? So, but can't, fortunately. What's that?
Very.
No, it's just, no, unfortunately, you can't put all that in there, so. Thank you, I appreciate it all.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening. Yes, 21st, thank you, appreciate it.
Next case is 49-2023-Z-V, 28 North Pine Street.
Applicant owners same, LSL Property Management, 1742C Yorktown Drive, York, PA 17408. Zoning district is UN1, Urban Mixed Residential Commercial District. The summary, the applicant is seeking a variance to add a 6-unit to an existing licensed 5-unit building. The variance when appealed, the applicant seeks a variance to add a 6-unit to an existing licensed 5-unit as in 1304.01 through 1.002. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, staff recommend approval of a variance to add a 6-unit to an existing licensed 5-unit property for the property at 28 North Pine Street.
Hello.
Hello.
Could you provide your name for the record?
Shaman Lambert.
And could you give us a little more information on what you're requesting?
I have a licensed and approved 5-unit. There's an area that has a stand-up shower, toilet, which you can see in there. It had its own entryway. That was there when I purchased the building. There's a tenant who already lives there. So what I want to do is license that unit to make the property that's licensed as 5 to 6.
Is this the same property you were here for before?
Yes.
Is there a reason we didn't do the 6-unit then?
The 6-unit, I thought that was already included because it's on the 3rd floor with the already. There's the 3rd floor. That's on the 3rd floor of the same. That's on the same floor as the 3rd unit already. So I thought it would be combined as one unit, but here to find out that needs to be separated because it's not actually together, I guess. But it's on the same floor.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Are these photos pre-construction or are these current?
Those photos are current. That picture of the area is actually, it's emptied out now. Someone lives there, but the picture that is taken is because I was about to spray and paint it. But those are current pictures of how it looks now. But someone's lived there since I bought the building.
Is this just one open room or what?
Yeah, well, I guess technically, I would say it's considered an efficiency. It's 727 square feet, but it has its own entrance. You know, it's its own separate area, just like the rest of the, I guess, apartments, as you call it.
I don't suppose this is a planning issue per se, but like, the shower has like a shower door, right?
What's that?
The shower has.
Yeah, the shower door was taken off. I was going to spray and paint it. Like, that's why it's so empty right now, but the stuff is back in there now. I didn't paint it or anything yet.
Is the carpentry around the shower, is it finished? Because it doesn't look finished here.
My plan was to paint it, finish it more after I realized that I had to get it licensed, but I didn't want to do any, extra work to it until I knew that I was ready to go forward with it. There's a lot of other things that I want to do with it. But right now, like I said, there's someone currently that's been living in there when I purchased the building, so I would have to move them out if they said that they are willing to do eventually to fix it up to get them back in there.
Does staff have a list of the original variances and special exceptions that were given on the property so that we know which of those may have been decided upon when we were assuming there were 5 as opposed to 6 units?
There is. He was, I think he was the first case in 2022. Or some, I can't remember exactly, but yes, we do. When he got approved for the 5 units.
I think I'm asking, do we know what they are so that we can make a decision that includes that information?
I don't.
Otherwise, we're making it in a vacuum of just like, oh, okay, this guy wants to go from 5 to 6, as opposed to last time we had information that was.
So he was approved for 5. He also did not need parking because he had an agreement, he has an agreement with someone right by there for the parking lot. He got approval for a dimensional because it wasn't quite big enough. And of course for definitional because somewhere down the road it was a single family home. And it had not, he did not need to, it had not been vacant for 2 years as well because there was people living in there when he purchased it. So
And
those.
is a rooming house?
No.
No?
It's their units.
They have a whole thing up there?
Yes, their units. He got approved for the 5 units, and now he was asking for the 6th unit.
So in other words, all of the other dimensional requirements, et cetera, parking, all that stuff are met?
Yes,
with the 6 units?
he's been licensed and inspected since he got approval for the 5 units.
So I did pull up the meeting minutes from January 2022. Yeah, it's just, it went from 2 to 5 units is what we approved, and the waiving of the parking spaces, that's it.
Good information.
Thank you.
That's why I'm the secretary. No, I'm just kidding.
Any other questions? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion on the variance?
I move to recommend to approve a variance to add a 6th unit to an existing licensed 5 unit as defined in section 1304.01-1.02 at 28 North Pine Street.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? May we have a roll call?
Johnson,
I vote no.
Davis,
Yay.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Gaines.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
21st.
Next case is 50-2023-Z-V-SE, 252 Roosevelt Avenue.
Applicant owner Ismail Morel, 213 North Broad Street, York, PA 17403. The zoning district is UN2, Urban Residential Neighborhood District. The summary, the applicant is seeking a special exception for the use and 3 variants to bring the property into compliance with the zoning ordinance as a multifamily licensed 3 unit. The applicant seeks a variance appeal 1. The applicant seeks a definition variance since the proposed use does not meet the ordinance requirements of a conversion from industrial, institutional, or commercial. The property is a single-family home. Staff have reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, staff recommends denial of a definition variance to allow 3 units for the property at 252 Roosevelt Avenue. Variance appeal 2, the applicant seeks a dimensional variance since the proposed density is less than permitted by the zoning ordinance in this district. Staff have reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d and finds the property is big enough for the proposed 3 units. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a dimensional variance to allow 3 apartments for the property at 252 Roosevelt Ave. Variance Appeal 3, zoning ordinance requires 5 off-street parking spaces for the proposed 3 units, and the applicant can only provide 2. The applicant is seeking a variance to reduce the number of off-street parking spaces. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d and finds the property does not have unique physical circumstances or conditions that warrant relief from the requirement of 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. Therefore, staff recommends denial of variance to the minimum number of parking spaces required for a multifamily dwelling for the property at 252 Roosevelt Avenue. Special exception 1 for the use. The zoning ordinance permits multifamily conversion from a different use by special exception in the zoning district in section 1304.1.1.02.002. Staff has reviewed the special exception provision for this property. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of the request for a special exception to allow multifamily dwelling at 252 Roosevelt Ave, pending all variances are approved.
Hello.
Hello.
Could you provide your name?
My name is Ismar Morel.
And could you tell us a little more of what you want to do here?
So I have currently a single family home that I would like to turn into a 3-unit. So on the first floor, I want to do a 1-bedroom, open kitchen with like shared kitchen and like living room, and then a bathroom. And on the second floor is going to be a 2-bedroom. And as well as on the third floor, it will also be a 2-bedroom. And then the detached garage, it actually has 3 parking spaces for 3 cars. But the spaces I was not including, like the in front of the house, off-street parking. So the garage is in the back of the house.
In your application, you mentioned another unit in the garage. Are you saying that? I actually have 2 questions. So first, the parking inside of the garage?
Yeah.
Or is like in front of the garage?
No, yeah, is a garage. A garage. Yeah, it's 3 parkings. There's no unit in the garage.
But you're mentioning wanting to convert the upstairs area in your application.
No, yeah, it's only 3 units in the home. It's a 3-bedroom house. So I'm turning the 3rd floor of the house into a 2-bedroom, and then the second floor into a 2-bedroom as well, and then the first floor will be a 1-bedroom.
So to do the renovation in the final space, you would come back then, is what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
I'm just saying your application mentions renovating a space in the garage. So I'm asking about this space because it's not included in here as one of the units.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one was that application, but there was like 2 applications submitted, but there's not going to be any units in the garage.
Okay.
So the reason that being, she did submit to, accidentally, it was done with that. So initially, she did want to do something with an apartment above the garage. However, that ordinance states for a accessory dwelling unit that the primary building structure must be single family. So she couldn't do that, so.
Okay. Thank you. No, I was just wanting to make sure that we were covering all of our bases because that was in here.
So your plan is to make 3 independent apartments, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Separate?
Yes.
You were talking about a shared kitchen and a shared bathroom.
So like the living room, the kitchen is gonna be not closed off. Like you're gonna see the kitchen. It's an open kitchen
For all
into
3
the living room. But no, just the first floor. Everyone's gonna have their own kitchen, their own. It's the unit all on its own. Different. Yeah, it's like open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so each individual apartment has its own bathroom and kitchen.
No, not at the moment, but it will. Yeah.
How many do you have?
I'm sorry?
How many kitchens are there now? Just one?
Just one kitchen. Just one kitchen right now.
If this case is approved for the 3 units, what is your timeline for providing kitchens and bathrooms for the other units?
Like, and how fast I want to get it done. So normally I want to get everything done in like under 60 days.
She'd have to get that done before anybody could move in there.
But yeah, no one's gonna move in. Yeah.
Would that, the conversion of the spaces into the kitchen, into the bathroom for the plumbing, those would all just be permit draws or what?
So we don't get into that. So if she is approved, then she will have to deal with codes and permits and plan reviews and planning beyond that point, land development, because of change in leasehold. So this is just, just zoning, just strictly for zoning. She will deal with that thereafter upon approval, if she gets approval.
Are there any other questions or comments? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case?
Okay.
We know who you are, but provide your name, please.
My name is Blandon Ace. In this capacity, I am Executive Director of the Redevelopment Authority of the City of York. The Redevelopment Authority had 2 properties, 221 and 223 South Hartley, that we sold to the Morel family, and they completely redeveloped that house. It was slated for demolition, and they were able to go in and save it, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I assume she would do the same work that her family did, but yeah, they and very quickly, by the way, as well. So just speaking to the quality of the work that they do, I've seen that there. I'm nothing about this facility whatsoever, because I only looked here, but they do good work and quickly.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything else?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion for the variance for definition?
I move to recommend to approve a variance to the definition of multifamily conversion from a different use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002A at 252 Roosevelt Avenue.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion? May we have a roll call?
Johnson?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Velez?
Aye.
Burgos?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Gaines?
Aye.
Motion's approved. Motion for the dimensional variance.
I move to recommend to approve a dimensional variance for multifamily conversion from a different use found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 to include conversion of a single-family home into 3 units for the property at 252 Roosevelt Avenue.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion? May we have a roll call?
Johnson?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Velez?
Aye.
Burgos?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Gaines?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Do we have a motion for the parking variance?
I move to recommend to approve a variance to the required 3 off-street parking spaces to be reduced to 2, found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 for the property at 252 Roosevelt Avenue in the UN2 zoning district.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Velez?
Aye.
Burgos?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Gaines?
Aye.
Motion's approved. Motion for special exception.
I move to recommend to approve a special exception to allow multifamily use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002 at 252 Roosevelt Avenue.
Second.
Any further discussion? A roll call, please.
Johnson?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos. Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Gaines.
Aye.
Motion's approved.
Thank you so
ma'am.
much. Have a good evening.
Case 51-2023-Z-V, 839 Mackenzie Street.
Good evening.
Hold on for a second.
Okay.
Hold on. Go ahead. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, applicant Casey French, 459 West Market Street, York, PA 401. Owner Peter Dankos, 839 Mackenzie Street, York, PA 17403. Zoning district RS2, single family detached residential conservation. Summary, applicant is seeking a variance for relief from setbacks to add an elevator addition. Variance appeal 1. The applicant seeks a variance for relief from setbacks to add an elevator addition as in 1303.10D. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.D. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a variance for the relief from setbacks to add an elevator addition for the property at 839 Mackenzie Street.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Casey French. I am an architectural consultant who specializes in aging in place and universal design. I get asked to assist people that want to remain in their homes for as long as possible, what renovations could get done in order to make this happen for them. Mr. Denko and Ms. McDaniels asked me to take a look at their house with them in reference to the installation of a small lift to enable them to go from the first and second floor in their home so that they can continue to make use of all facilities within their home. It is a wonderful home. It's what I would classify a country cottage type of thing. It's in a area that the city has not claimed as being historically significant, but there's some very wonderful homes in there that are historically significant. Looking at the property, if you notice on the site plan, it is a corner lot, which limits us as to how many sides. We didn't, of course, want to put a typical chairlift that you see on so many homes that just, sit on the bubble gummed on the front porch and go up from there. We looked around. The back end of the house was not conducive to it because of the fact that there's a porch out there already. And so the final decision was putting it on the side of the house into the setback made the most sense. It is a small enclosure, about the size of what you would see for a chimney in it. And the plan is for it to minimally reach the first floor and second floor. There is also talk of possibly going down into the basement for this. And we're looking for a variance in order to go into the setback. The box is approximately 5 feet by 5 feet. We would not go over, of course, the property line. And we're looking for a variance. I'm sorry. Yes, it has been a very long day. And that's about it.
So basically, it's a chairlift and not an elevator.
It's a enclosure for a lift to take a person in a wheelchair from the first floor to the second floor.
Something similar to what we would see on a staircase, only just is going vertical.
Going vertical, pretty much, yes. Of course, it's going to be more enclosed because once you are within that, it would meet the requirements. There's really no codes that exist in reference to these kind of residential elevators. It's relatively new. If you look at a lot of them that are being sold commercially, they look like pneumatic tubes in the middle of a room where it's just a platform that goes up and down. We will be working with I'm excited about this because of my consulting and working in aging in place for the city here. This could be a great example for an economical way for people to renovate their homes and staying in their homes by putting in a lift. So elevator doesn't really apply to this. The word lift is a better application.
Is this going to have then definite access from outside?
It will not have access from outside. There is an opportunity for us to be building a ramp in the back, should it be required, so that they can get into the first floor. If it makes sense, we possibly could put. We're in the process. We wanted to see if we could get approval first before we could go into that kind of a specific. Also, for keeping it on the outside instead of inside, there's less structural damage to the existing, and the homes are relatively narrow, and it would eat up an entire room. Thus, one of my goals in reference to being a consultant doing this kind of thing is not to hurt the overall value of property by putting on something ugly and destroying the integrity of the existing, but to add something that's going to add intrinsically value, an intrinsic value for the beauty of the home, let alone the overall value of the home.
I see a lot of these elevators at the beach.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it would be similar to that. Yes, and you do know who Peter Denko is. You know it's going to be better looking than that.
Is it made of core glass?
Would you like it to be? Would you like to help with it?
Would either one of you like to add anything?
Yeah. Peter?
sorry?
Would you like to add anything?
No, we like living in York, and we like being close to downtown. And as I get older, I notice my balance is not as good as it used to be. And I can see where maybe 5 or 10 years from now, I will have difficulty going upstairs. So we like our house, want to stay there. I've heard horror stories about people going into homes and how they're just unhappy there, and we're happy in our house. And so an elevator is a good idea. Either that or get a house that's like all on one level, but then it probably wouldn't be in the city. So
we feel like when we first moved to York, we didn't know anyone, and we felt like it was our opportunity to kind of make a community, and therefore we wanted to live downtown. And we have been rewarded in so many ways by doing that. And I think that one of the joys that we have is knowing that we can go to the Strand or go out to dinner or something, and it's just a short way. If we get relocated someplace else, it's going to mean that not only our lives are going to change, but we're going to have to get assistance from other people. And it just it makes me so happy to be in my home, and I really wish to stay there for much, much longer. And this would assist in that. So I appreciate you taking into consideration our feelings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Do we have a motion for the variance?
I make a motion to recommend approval of a variance for relief from setback to add an elevator addition as defined in section 1303.10D at the property located at 839 Mackenzie Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson. Gaines.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And congrats on finding your poster children for.
I didn't call them that.
I'll call them that.
You can. It helps the city too.
Why did they need a setback? Why would they need a setback?
Does the setback only not exist in the CBD? That's the only, I mean, because traditionally we don't have like fences and all that jazz, we don't have setbacks.
Well, I guess it's because it's an addition.
It's like right on the property line.
Oh, yeah, it's on
Or
the
within
side,
inches of
on
it.
the side of it.
Yeah.
Here, that's where it is, yeah. The setback was coming from the neighbor house, yeah. Let's hit it one more time. Technically, we don't have an open forum on the agenda, but You wanted to discuss comp plan committee meetings?
Yeah, so with the open forum, there's two issues that I would like to discuss. Our three-person committee for the comprehensive plan. I'd like to set up something with the three of you and Jessica Fieldhouse to get together to, more collectively, smaller group to discuss this comprehensive plan. So I would ask that, because I'm going to have to see what her schedule is like as well. So if the three of you could please email me ASAP. I am going out the 22nd to get surgery, so ASAP, your schedule, then I will let her know that so that we can coordinate something. Also, and also reminder that the 4th Monday of January, we're having our executive meeting. Please get any topics to me, so we can meet in executive session to hash out any of the things that you would like to hash out and things of that nature. And thirdly, but not lastly, I now am a member of the LGAC, which stands for Local Government Advisory Committee. So I went to my first meeting today, and they did say that in March, which will give any new folks or reappointed folks and all of the board members a chance, for a 2-month chance. It's not just for York City, it's for all the municipalities, for training for any planning commissions and zoning hearing board members. And I would like for everybody, even though Mike has been here since the beginning of time, because everything changes, a lot of things have changed, and I would like to offer that, and I will keep everybody up to date as to when there's no cost for it, and they also try to schedule it around because they know that Planning Commission, Zoning Hearing Board is a voluntarily, boards, and that people have other jobs, so to try to do something that works for everybody. So I just wanted to let you know that's upcoming, and as soon as I have the information, I will forward it. I will pass it along to you all. That's all I had.
And you said that's in March?
March, yeah, because they like to give any of the boards, you reappoint people or you appoint new members in January. That way it gives them at least 2 months to, kind of get some sort of kind of feel for what's going on. And then it's not like extensive, just kind of upper level, but like, what you look for, land development, plans and reviews, and kind of sharing best practices across the other municipalities. Like we had mentioned about the agricultural part of it, we kind of, with me being in these groups, or in Monty and I being in the other group, it kind of, we are just different than the other municipalities, and a lot of things don't apply to the city, but it gives us, an insight of, everything else, and just share best practices, because the concept is all the same, and then that way we can share what we do as well as what some of the other municipalities do, and can kind of just train on different things that need to be done.
And what timeline are we looking at for the comp plan meeting? Is she looking at December or what?
It is December.
It is December, yes. So,
we've pushed it off a lot. Yeah. And I feel like a broken record saying this. It's been pushed off a lot.
And I feel like a broken record telling you, we don't have anything concrete. That's why we want the 3 committee members to sit down and meet with Jessica, and, maybe, I don't know.
My recommendation would be sometime in January.
Well, okay,
Jessica?
Before we go to your recommendation, Dr. Kutcher, I'm sorry. Should this happen before our next meeting, or should we plan that this is not going to be a discussion next month too?
I wouldn't plan for that.
Right.
She said as of today that we should expect the draft on December 22nd. So with that in mind, all of the holiday stuff in mind, I doubt that that would allow enough time for everyone on the committee to review, staff to review, and be prepared for a fruitful conversation at the January meeting. So I don't think that the date of the January meeting should be held in mind in scheduling this committee meeting.
But is it fair to say that a meeting set up with the committees and Jessica to meet together can happen in January? That that the three of you can bring back it to the executive meeting at least, and then that way we can.
Yeah, because to clarify, we would not be discussing a draft of a document in a public.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Making sure we're all on the same page.
Right, right. Is that good?
I think the goal for that January executive session should also be to talk about the overlay.
Correct, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention the overlay. I'm sorry, but yes, the overlay, look, Blanda back there. But,
Like us to talk about.
so yeah. So that would be inclusive in that as well. And Blanda, would you like to be inclusive in that as well? Okay, invited to that. So it'll be Blanda, the three committee members, and Jessica.
Okay.
So just send me your availability in January, like,
Wouldn't it be better to get Jessica's and then Sherry's, because it's only one of her and three? I'm sorry, that might make it a little easier to coordinate.
well, we can, but I mean, if there's, I'll put it to you like this. If there's something in January that you definitely can't look, I can't do this or can't do that, then let me know. But yeah, I'll reach out to Jessica too at the same time so we can,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
Because I know Blanda, I just can go next door to his office and ask him when he's available. Yeah, I will include you on the email.
All 15 feet of it. Anything else? Anyone else have an
Nope.
item for discussion? We stand adjourned.